My name is Sandy Adamitis, the social media director for the Page International Screenwriting Awards, and your host for the Writers Hangout, a podcast that celebrates the many stages of writing, from inspiration to the first draft, revising, getting a project made, and everything in between. We'll talk to the best and the brightest in the entertainment industry and create a space where you can hang out, learn from the pros, and have fun. Hey writers, it's Sandy. I'm coming to you from Studio City, California, the crown jewel of the San Fernando Valley. And before Studio City was called Studio City, it was originally known as Laurel Wood and functioned as ranch land before the Los Angeles Aqueduct brought water to the San Fernando Valley in 1913.
Just find the girl.
The name Studio City was officially adopted after Max Sennett built his movie studio here in 1927, and now the home of the Writers Hangout. How are you guys? Everything okay? Are you enjoying your summer so far? Have you gone anywhere for summer vacation? When I was little, I once asked my mother where we were going for vacation this year, and she said, home beach. And I ran around the neighborhood going, we're going to home beach, we're going to home beach. Yeah. Today, we're going to take a look at 5 inspiring quotes about writing from Christopher Nolan, the highly acclaimed filmmaker known for his complex, high-concept narratives, innovative use of practical effects, and explorations of time and memory. Christopher is one of the highest grossing directors in history and is known for blockbusters like The Dark Knight trilogy, Inception, Interstellar, and Oppenheimer, which won him the Academy Award for Best Director. If you're interested in understanding how Christopher Nolan crafts his story, these following quotes will help you to understand his creative process and how you can include these ideas in your own work. First, a little bit more about Christopher Nolan. It is Sir Christopher Nolan, born on July 30th, 1970 in London. Nolan often co-writes his films with his brother Jonathan and produces them alongside his wife Emma Thompson. He is known for his visually distinctive epics and his staunch advocacy for preservation of traditional large format film stocks like IMAX. He is a student of Hollywood history, and he says he wants to show audiences something they haven't seen before. His latest endeavor is The Odyssey, a grounded, high-stakes psychological epic that tracks King Odysseus' brutal 10-year struggle to return home from the Trojan War, juxtaposed against his family's fight to keep their kingdom from collapsing. The Odyssey opens in theaters worldwide on July 17th, and is the first feature to be shot entirely on IMAX film. While Nolan has famously used IMAX for major sequences in past blockbusters like The Dark Knight, Dunkirk, and Oppenheimer, The Odyssey marks the first time a major studio production has been filmed 100% in this format from start to finish. The cast of The Odyssey features a massive star-studded ensemble cast, filling the iconic roles of Greek gods, mythical figures, and Homeric heroes. We have Matt Damon as Odysseus, the king of Ithaca, Anne Hathaway as Penelope, the loyal queen Ithaca, Tom Holland as Telemachus, who is Odysseus' son, Robert Pattinson as Tinuus, the conniving villain of the piece, and then we have Zendaya as Athenia, the goddess of wisdom, Charlize Theron as Calypso, Lupita Nyong'o doing double duty as Clytemnestra, and Helen of Troy. John Leguizamo is playing Humanus, the fiercely loyal blind swineherd. Elliot Page as Sinon, the Greek warrior famed for his deceptive role in the Trojan horse scheme. And last but not least, Mia Goth as Melanthios, the disloyal maidservant. That is quite the cast. Following its world premiere in London, initial reactions from critics have been overwhelmingly ecstatic, hailing the film as a masterpiece and a front-runner for Best Picture, while some purists have also complained about the modern English dialogue, the American accents, and its Renaissance-style armor choices. Christopher Nolan officially dismissed the online outrage in an interview with The Telegraph, calling the pre-release backlash irrelevant because no one having them knows what the film actually is yet. Snaps were mine. Again, after we talk about these 5 quotes, I hope you'll get an understanding how Christopher Nolan crafts his stories and his creative process, and how possibly you can use it in your own work. The very first quote from Christopher Nolan: "Everybody's situation is unique. And the one thing I've learned is that instead of copying someone else's model for a low budget film, you really have to look at what you've got available and see how you can tell the story you want to tell using the things that you have around you." What I think he's saying here is don't restrict yourself. Embrace your limitations as a source of strength. Try and center your narrative around things you have easy access to, like a specific apartment. Use your friends as actors, familiar locations. If you live on a farm and you can't get to a big city, maybe think of filming your first film that doesn't take place in a big city. Number 2, breaking rules isn't interesting. It's making up new ones that keep things exciting. What I think Christopher means here is think about inventing over rebelling. Rather than just defy a rule for the sake of being shocking, Nolan establishes boundaries within a film. For example, in Memento, he builds the story around the rule of reverse chronological order. In Inception, he builds an entirely restrictive set of physics for navigating dreams. I also like to think of that as building rules for your worlds that you've created. Number 3, quotes from Christopher Nolan. My real interest is point of view, deciding what's the point of view we're trying to express. Whose eyes are we seeing the story through? This quote shows up throughout Nolan's work, and it really highlights how his stories are told. He approaches storytelling by locking the audience into a specific character's subjective experience instead of, the fly on the wall perspective. His films force you to learn, feel, and question only what the focal character knows, kind of like trapping you inside their personal perspective of reality. Take Prestige, where 2 friends turn into fierce rivals. As the story progresses, we get to understand both characters and what drives them, making us more emotionally invested until the big showdown. Number 4, what I try to do is write from the inside out. I really try to jump into the world of film and the characters. Try to imagine myself in that world rather than imagining it as a film I'm watching on screen. Sometimes that means I'm discovering things the way the audience will. To me, this quote describes Christopher Nolan's subjective approach to screenwriting. He immerses himself in the story's reality by letting the story unfold naturally through the eyes of his characters. If I remember correctly, this quote is from a Collider article, and I just vaguely remember reading that article. So if you want to get more insight into that quote, I would look up Christopher Nolan Collider article and learn more about that in detail. Number 5, and our last quote. It's about using things the audience can relate and respond to that matters most, even if you don't fully understand them. You never quite know where that desire to finish something or to return to something in a fresh way is going to come from. Okay, there's a lot in that quote. These are my takeaways. Trust the creative process. Breakthroughs cannot always be forced. Some stories require time to sit and marinate. Put it away, think about it, do other activities. It can be 2 weeks, it could be months, but you're going to come back to what you've been writing and figure out how to make it work. A writer's understanding of their own work changes as they mature. For example, I remember reading that Nolan spent over a decade trying to write Inception. It wasn't until he figured out how to connect emotionally with the center character that he was able to finish the script. Anchor your emotions. Nolan believes that while a film's high concept, for example, time dilation in Interstellar, can be confusing. So they must be rooted in feelings we all understand, like love, grief, survival. Nolan supposedly has a mantra: don't try to understand it, just feel it. Writers, what do you think of those 5 quotes of Christopher Nolan? Will you try to use them in your work? Let me know your thoughts. Send me an email at thewritershangoutpodcast@gmail.com. That is THEWRITERSHANGOUTPODCAST@gmail.com. Gosh, I really wish I made that email longer. Writers, I hope the rest of your weekend is fun and fabulous.
And that's a wrap for the Writers Hangout. Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please take a moment to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Your positive feedback will help us keep the show going so we can continue bringing you more future episodes. Remember, keep writing. The world needs your stories. The Writers Hangout is sponsored by the Page International Screenwriting Awards with executive producer Kristen Overn, Sandy Adamitis, and myself, Terry Sampson. And our music is composed by Ethan Stoller.
Alexa, you are gaslighting me.